Hi, in this video I'm going to explain how to set up a site pairing between my home lab and VMC and AWS SDDC. So let's go to my home lab first. Let's log into my vCenter server and let's go to the ACX extension or plugin. And once we're there, the only thing we need to do is we need to add a new site pairing. There you go. Click on site pairing, add in the provided or the information that's required of the remote ACX, and there we go. We see that is added already, right? Now, before we continue, we are going to look at my current environment. And we can see that if we go to my network profiles, you can see that I've already configured or pre-configured some network profiles that are required. So you can see the VLAN 11 there that I'm using for management. I'm using VLAN 14 there that I'm using for vMotion. And let me see, if we go to the compute profiles, we can see that I've also pre-configured my compute profile over there with with the network profiles embedded in there, vMotion and management, and also my resources where I'm actually going to install my appliances on. If I go to service mesh, we can see that I already have some service meshes, but we are going to create a new one for the new SDDC. Now let's go to the actual ACX manager of the VMC and AWS. So here you can see that I also have a service mesh and network profiles. These are typically already pre-configured. Now the thing that we need to do in order to set up an external connection is we see that there are already two IP addresses here that are allocated, public IP addresses, and we need to allocate some more, because 2 is not enough. So let's go to public IP addresses in the network and security tab of the console, the SDDC console, and here we need to add in some new public IP addresses, or we need to request them actually. So let's do that. So I already have 2. Now I'm going to add one more. But before we do that, we go back to the ACX manager console, to the network profiles, and we're going to add this IP address into the external network profile, right? Because otherwise ACX doesn't know what public IP addresses it should or can use for setting up a pairing, site pairing, or enabling the services that it's supposed to do. So let's update the network profile, and now we can see we have 3 IP addresses. And let's do it again. And this new public IP address also needs to be added into the network profile. So now that's done. So now let's go back to my home environment. And in my home environment, we're going to create a new service mesh. So we've created the pairing, and now we're going to create a service mesh. We just click on create service mesh. Local site's already selected, and we select our remote site where we just enabled the public IP addresses or added the public IP addresses. So here we can select a local site profile, and we also need to select a remote compute profile, which is already be created at the VMC and AWS site. Let's close and let's continue. And here we can enable the services that we actually want to have enabled. For some services, special license is required. So we're only going to enable the services that are required for network extension and basic migration. Let's hit continue. And here we can see what kind of uplink profile we're going to for the external network. So in my case, I have VLAN 11 that has the communication for my external to do towards the internet. And for the VMC and AWS, we just select the external network, obviously the one that we just added the IP addresses for. So here we can see that I have 0 free IP addresses, which is not good, right? So for some reason I had 0 free IP addresses. For the other one I had 4. And before we can continue, I actually need to add these IP addresses or add a range. So to make sure. So here we can see I used to have a pool of 6. Now I need to extend that pool to make it more, because I already used a service mesh with other sites, and these IP addresses are already consumed. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that that IP range is now bigger. And I will make it bigger, and you will see that eventually, once this is done, I have more IP addresses available, right? So let's create a service mesh again. Start all over again. Let's select our profiles again, and here you can see I have 6 free IP addresses now. The ones that I just added, and the 4 of the remote site will still be valid. Let's hit continue. And here you can do some advanced configuration with network extension. We're going to leave this default for now, because this is not required right now. I'm going to leave this for another video. And this is also some more traffic engineering advanced configuration, which we're not going to go in deeper in this video. So let's leave the default. And this is the preview or the actual summary of what's going to happen. Let's hit continue, and we need to provide a site or a site name for the service mesh, or a service mesh name actually. What I'm going to call this home to, and then PS prod, I think. Yeah, so this is the actual new SDDC site on the other side. This name needs to be unique. So I'm going to set up a service mesh between my home environment and this EMEA prod SDDC. Let's create a service profile, and let's do a little bit of fast forwarding. And here we can see that it's actually deploying the service mesh. So when we're going to look a little bit deeper in the deployment, we can click on the tasks, and we can eventually see the different tasks that are actually happening underwater. So it will first do a first pre-deployment, and then it will eventually, what you will see here is you can click it open. So you can see the progress. And once it's finished. And here you can also see that my, or you will eventually see that my IP addresses here that are currently, so now we can see that my public IP addresses or my private IP addresses that I assigned are actually allocated. Now, our next step is to actually set up another site pairing and another service mesh with another VMC and AWS SDDC. So before we can do that, let's first look at the IP addresses that are currently consumed on the public side. Well, we can see we used to have 4, and now 3 of that are in use. So in order to create a new service mesh, we need to add some new public IP addresses, right? So that's another one. This is the fifth one that I'm going to use for ACX, and the sixth one. Let's add two more, so we have three free public IP addresses, and let's add these public IP addresses back into the actual network profile. So now that we've done this, we've allocated three new public IP addresses. And our next step is to go to the other SDDC. So let's go to the other SDDC, and I'll create a site pairing and initiate the site pairing from there. So as you can see, this in the lower red label here, you can see this is the EMEA prod SDDC. So now we're going to browse to another SDDC, which is the SME EMEA SDDC, which is going to have a blue label, just to make sure that you understand where we're currently at. So this is the other SDDC. Here we can look at the add-ons, and we can see you can open ACX as well. And here we can see that ACX is already deployed. And let's open ACX there, and let's verify our environment. So let's log in first. And again, we're using the vCenter server credentials as well to log into the ACX manager. And we are going to add a new site pairing, and this site pairing is going to be the other VMC and SDDC ACX, and here you can see that it's added. If you scroll down, you can see that it's over there, right? The SME demo to the EMEA prod. And if I go to my service mesh, there's nothing there yet for the current site that for the current pairing that we just added. And here we can see the external network. Also, all the IP addresses here are also consumed, right? So we need to again add in three more public IP addresses to make sure that our service mesh can be created with the services or ACX service that we actually want to enable. Now let's go to the network and security tab and add in some more public IP addresses. So we're going to create and request a bunch of new public IP addresses, and then one by one we're going to add them into the network profile again. Eight, 9, and 10, and we've added three of them, and now we're going to add the three new IP addresses into network profile. So let's click edit. And add them in one by one. And now we have three new free IP addresses. So now we're ready to create a service mesh. We've already added 3 on the other side. So let's start with creating the service mesh. As you can see, I already have a few over there, but the one that we're actually going to set up newly is not there yet. So let's create it, and let's select the remote site and continue. And here we're going to select the compute profile, which is the local compute profile, and the remote compute profile. These compute profiles will already be pre-installed for you when you enable ACX. So let's enable the proper services. I'm not going to use WAN optimization, so continue and select the uplink profile or external network profile, which is effectively the uplink profile. And here we can see our 3 IP addresses that we've allocated. And yeah, let's select the correct one, and we can see the 3 free IP addresses for the services, the ACX services. And let's hit continue. And the advanced configuration, we're not going to do anything with it at the moment. And eventually we can review the topology, how the things are going to be connected. And let's continue to set up our unique name or service mesh name, SME2 and then EMEA prod, because this is from one direction to another direction. So let's hit finish. And again, here we can see that the service mesh is actually being deployed. While we are looking at that, we can look at the different messages that's given, informational messages that's actually providing you while the service mesh is actually deployed. Now, if you're eventually you can look at the tasks, and you can look at the different tasks, and after a while you can see the service mesh is created. You can see a message, and we need to wait for a while until the services are actually up and running. And I think after 15 minutes you will see that slowly by slowly the services are being enabled, and you see green dots in the actual icons. And here you can see that every icon here has a green dot, means that all the services are up. Thanks for watching the video, and please stay tuned for the next one.